Hello everyone. I know it's been a while, but today's video I'm going to be talking about what to expect in the upcoming sequel of my new book that's coming up in November. It's called Halo Commandos and Team Awesome: Rise of the Duchess. So it's going to be a very interesting tale. And what I'm going to be telling you is what to expect in the upcoming sequel. I'm going to be telling you about what inspirations I got, and all that other stuff. So, enjoy the video. Fact 1 is that this story is going to continue after the first. Now, it's not that. It's kind of obvious that the first book is going to be a complete replica. It's not going to be the complete replica as the first book. Now, the first book is being remastered, but if you go to my Canvas site, which should be in the top screen, and also if you want to check the site out for yourself to see if I'm telling the truth or not of the books, I also left the channel link, the link in the description below. So, this fact, I'm going to try to keep this less than 2 minutes, at least. And I'm already wasting a minute on there. But book 1 starts off 4 years after the Ranchway Massacre, speaking of which, it will be getting its own story sometime later, probably in December or sooner. But either way, oops, I forgot to take this off. But either way, the story is technically changed from this title to this title, Halo Commandos and the Search of Lost Friends. Now, I had to shorten down the title of the story to make things a little bit more interesting, and plus because the first 3 chapters of the original book, if some of you guys got the original book or read the original book, I foreshadowed pretty much what happens at the beginning of what's going to happen in chapter 4. So that is being fixed, and it's going to continue after the first book. What's going to be interesting about this story is that it's going to have action scenes, it's going to have violence, it's going to have Star Wars related, and since this book is mainly on Star Wars, that reminds me, that's another fact you need to know. Now, so, let's see. So what's going to happen is that the book is going to continue on. There are 5 books being planned out, 3 short stories, actually, I think 4 stories, and many other things going on. I'm gonna show you guys this little clip. And never mind, I'm not gonna show you guys the clips, but either way, the book is going to be so interesting. Let's get on to another fact. Fact 2. There will be 2 short stories connected to this book that will be related to the book. Now, I do have the poster right up here. If you guys are interested, this story is called North Ranger's Origin. It's called North Ranger's Origin: The Great Escape. Now, this short story takes place during the original book. The first book, and also during the second book, it starts off left off with Sabine is following Josh into this underground mansion that he has secretly built in Joe's HQ, and it's very interesting. I mean, the base is technically a replica of what this used to be, and surprisingly, I got some more good news, but I will tell you more about that later on. But the book is going to be interesting. It's going to be having torture chambers. It's going to have slavery. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be violence. There could be some stripping. I don't know. No, because, well, I do have some ideas on how I want this story to go out. Even though sometimes I did have dreams and and it was down and dirty a couple times. I had that happen a couple times, but either way, another thing that's happening in one of the short story sorry, I'm also it's going to be in first person point of view. It's going to be about Josh T. actually how did he escape and how he became the North Ranger, and some inspiration is from Oliver and Oliver the Great Western Engine on his origin story. The video should be playing in front of me right now. I mean, this is how he escapes was an inspiration. Another thing, which is a bigger inspiration, it's the main inspiration for this short story, concluding that I did see one Thomas 2, Edward 2, and Henry 3 video on Oliver's origin story. He went in so much detail on it, and I want my stories to be on it as much as I want to show actual footage on it. It's going to be crazy. So that's what you need to know. The second short story is going to be it's going to be near on into the future, after, like during when Sabine Rand finds Ezra Bridger. There are several comics, like short comics that I found on Pinterest that I want this next story to be connected to. And if you haven't noticed, one of them when Ezra and Sabine are just running at each other. If you ever watched any of my other videos that I did of Lonely and Quit Playing Games with My Heart, if you ever watch those videos, I recommend you check those out. As Lonely seems to be the most popular out of the two. So let's get on to fact number 3. Fact number 4. Another big inspiration for this main story. There are 2 main inspirations for this main story: Avengers Infinity War, and also unfortunately, I like to say Avengers 4 was an inspiration for this, but I don't know what the title of Avengers 4 or the story arc for that. So, one of the other inspirations was Heroes of Mandalore, which is technically the main results of this. Now, I should have some photos of the Duchess in this corner. If you don't remember what the Duchess is, it was the device that Sabine Wren made when she was in the Imperial Academy of Mandalore. And in my book, Josh was actually helping him out with this on this weapon, but then he was taken away. And endangered. He was taken away back to Earth, and he was told to go back to his home planet, and that's what he did. And he never came back until during the final moments of the Rangerway Massacre. And that's when Sabine realized that she made a terrible mistake, and that the weapon is being used, and that she should have listened to Josh, because Josh T is technically a time traveler, and he knows the future because of one. Thanks to Captain Pittsburgh for flipping the switch, for one thing, and not only that, he knows the timeline very well, so he knows what not to mess up with. So he's trying to stop this from all happening. But what's surprisingly in there, Josh's story arc is continuing onward onto book 2. He started off as the Creeper, Orange Creeper, then Tiger Commander. Nope. Darth Bengal. He was Darth Bengal for a good 3 years. Then he became Tiger Commander, who has the same abilities as Darth Bengal, but except he's a good guy. Then he became Darksaber, but only Darksaber, he only took up for at least about 3 months, at least. And then he gave it to Tar Vizsla, and then he became the Bengal for the rest of his years. Surprisingly, the Bengal will have a bigger role. He's still called the Bengal because he's a Bengals fan. So there in the short story of the North Ranger's origin, he actually is the North Ranger. He's called himself the prisoners. Surprisingly, there was a North versus South war that happened, and surprisingly, Josh was actually a ranger during that war, but he took secret missions. He was technically a scout or a spy, pretty much for the Rangers, and so he did missions outside of the Ranger Way Academy, where they learned how to fight the rebels, South rebels. But technically, it was Dolan's father. Danger Dolan did not find out that it was his father, surprisingly. So that is a huge step from there. So North versus South war, and Josh was actually, like I said, he was captured. I'll go in more intel on Josh's origin. I'll have to do another video on this, on Josh T's origin story, because Josh T has a bigger story arc than all the other characters I made have so far. Most of them do not have a story arc. Anyway, so bah humbug. Another big inspiration, I'm not going to go into too much intel and detail on this, but I can tell you this much. The book is going to be also explaining the origins of Zootopia, and that's why Infinity War was another big inspiration. The wiping half the universe out, because if you ever watch Zootopia, the poster's right here, by the way. If you ever watch Zootopia, I mean, you notice the insects are gone. There's no birds, there's no reptiles, and pretty much no ocean life or any other creatures. Because Zootopia is supposed to be the gathering of all the creatures living together combined. And on Animal Kingdom, which is technically just another Earth made just for animals, and it's the same universe for Legends of Chima. What was the other one? Animalia, which was one of my favorite childhood shows that I like to watch, and also, so I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, and Kung Fu Panda, which is I don't have a poster for. So Kung Fu Panda, it's mainly Kung Fu Panda. In the Kung Fu Panda universe, we could be getting some references. With this story continuing on, and with a 5-book franchise, and one of the stories will be on YouTube, on this channel, I will have a video based on this. And I'm trying to remember if there's anything else, if I should mention. Zootopia is... Yeah, so the effects, the weapon that Callus... Actually, I think that it would be best if I say that for another fact.